Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you enjoyed last. Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Rachel Alger. She my God. All right, let's try this again. Dude, I hate these intros. It's like I overthink them, and I'm a terrible person. You know, if I'm just sad, I should just make an intro because I just start laughing. You know, it's something about reality. Just all of a sudden, it just turns into comedy to me. It's like the world is a stage, and it's a comedy, and I don't know if I'm the joke or the punchline or I don't know. And I don't even know where to look. God, I suck at this. Alright, guys, I hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Rachel Alger. She's such a cool person. Guys, hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Rachel Alger. We did a follow-up last week on her Instagram. She's such a cool person, man. She seems to really bring a lot out of me. We really connect as people, and I'm looking forward to just interacting with her more. And I got the audio to our conversation last week, and I thought I'd post it for you guys for this episode. And so, without any further ado, enjoy, man. Her name is Raquel Alger. I guess I shouldn't do these 3 o'clock in the morning. Enjoy the stinking podcast.
Yo, hello.
Yes.
How's it going, man? We are doing this.
Yes, we are. I'm so glad this is working.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm a late blooming millennial, so it's like technology. I'm like half of my brain can do it, the other half is like, is like totally lost. So thank you for guiding me into the promised land of actually, doing. I've tried doing reels before, but like no one watched, and so so it was like Facebook. I do a lot of Facebook Live stuff, and it gets a good response, and it just seems like I haven't gained steam. So hopefully this is the first foray into things to come, man. So thank you for having me, man. Like, dude, it's
Thanks for being here.
yeah, dude. No, seriously, I was going over our episode that we did months back, and man, like, we talked yesterday about procrastination and everything, and it was like, one, I was embarrassed because I talked like the whole time, and so like I've been like, oh God, it's one of those, and then I've been trying to do less editing, by the way, too. I've learned that, like, okay, Josh, you have to just let things go, let things be, and it's okay, and so now that I've got some momentum with doing podcasting, I've made a commitment to myself to just like, one, I need to let my guests talk more, and I'm just not going to edit. I'm just going to push play and live with the consequences, and unless I say something that's really like bad, which I haven't done that yet. So, I tend to have a good filter. I tend to be mindful of things. So anyway, man, thank you for having me. This is awesome. I'm hoping to get our podcast episode up either tomorrow or next week. It's kind of a weird week with Thanksgiving. So, thank you for having me, man. You are a sweet soul, and man, man, I'm excited to just chat with you, man, and be here with your peeps. So yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, I think I can tag you in this or something.
I think so. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like you said you were talking too much on your podcast. I think it's just you're a really cool person to have a discussion with.
Oh, cool, man. Well,
So I like having a discussion with you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, man. Like, it's weird. Like, I've learned that my OCD stems from, this is just my theory. I think with our own issues, we all come into this world like in a unique way, and it's almost like we have to come to terms with how we're wired. And I think if you have certain expectations placed on you, either by society or even by family that they mean well, like if you're not taught how to process your own physiology, your own emotions, and your own outlook on things, you tend to we'll push them down. So for me, I think I came into this world sort of just very sensitive, and as a guy, you don't want to be that way. You want to be masculine. You want to be You know, you want to be able to, so it's taken me a while to like embrace that and learn that I think our problems are our superpowers. It's how we get to where we want to go. We got to wire ourselves. It may not be the path you want to take, but it's the only path that you have, because you have to confront all these inner issues. And it's like, now I've found myself probably in the last 5-10 years become much more masculine as a person, but maintaining all the sensitivity of being of my more feminine side. You know, there's the whole, you know, concept of having the anima and the animus, you know, within us. And so there's I think a balanced person has sort of that balance, man, of both. And I think for me, as for just being a guy, you know, I always felt like a sense of weakness, you know, and I got to realize that, you know, where we have weakness in our lives is where we're going to become strong if we are able to exercise ourselves in that weakness, you know. And so, yeah, man, that's kind of like, and I like to have that perspective, you know. So as we get into things and stuff, I like to, even though we talk about OCD, anyone dealing with anything, I think this is the path forward. You have to, you know, iron out yourself through your problems. You don't go around them. You got to go through them, you know, man. And our society doesn't teach us enough how to do that. So that's why I think we're both on our missions to help people out as we're dealing with our own stuff. You know, we haven't arrived, but I think we both have a unique, you know, outlook in a way that we know that works for us and has been working for us. And we all have a little insight into just this human experience. And I think it's through these issues that at first they're a curse, but ultimately they can become a blessing if we know how to respond to them correctly, you know. And so and here I am talking again too much, so
No. This is why we're having a discussion.
Yeah.
I always love it. You brought up a good point with you know, the sensitivity and what it means to be masculine, because what is expected from society.
Yeah.
And it puts a lot of pressure on people. And also when you're talking, what was something that like triggered, you know, something that had triggered you, and when, or like sometimes like we just have to like sweep things under the rug and oppress, you know, and oppress our feelings. Yeah. Because like, especially men, like being taught to be masculine as well. Yeah. But when something traumatic happens, that's where really like the OCD or any depression like literally just comes in like a tidal wave. Yeah. And that's where, I mean, that's what happened to me when a traumatic experience happened. That's where mine was like, here it is, you know. Yeah. Is able to be picked up like right away.
Absolutely. Well, you know, and they don't teach it, like, we're not taught these things in our conventional education. There's not trauma 101. You know, there isn't, you know, and the thing is that too often, like the big thing that I'm really, I've been kind of studying for a while is the effects of mass-mindedness, in how we're so thirsty for acceptance and feeling normal that we can allow the oppression of just being so outward minded that we betray our inward issues, that we want to avoid them rather than actually work on them, actually confront them, you know. And because we're afraid to, like I said, we're not, I mean, you know, in places where we even can get some help, it's still people are very uncomfortable talking about a lot of these things. I mean, even like this, just the area of like sexuality, for instance, like we get, I think, a very superficial view, like in our culture about it, like that everything is, you know, as soon as you come into puberty, it's like you're just this perfect, you know, oriented person, and that's not really, that's as a dude, I can tell you it's not right. It's not true. You know, to really channel in your energy in different areas, it requires discipline. It requires you not thinking of every pretty girl you see is, you know, you're entitled to objectify them, you know. And I think there's deeper issues even within like spirituality, where we don't know how to confront them. And I feel like we got to have open-minded conversations and open-hearted conversations more than anything. And it's not just about being open-minded. It's about actually what does the individual require to have a healthy relationship with their instincts, you know? And I know that's kind of dicey ground, but that's kind of area where I kind of want to explore more in my podcast. Like, 'cause I really want to, you know, I feel like we don't have tough conversations that are very sensitive, you know, and so, man, 'cause to me, I'm just left wanting with the way that we address a lot of these areas, and we should have these conversations in love, not in judgment or anything. And, man, that's the only way forward, is that we have to have a healthy relationship with our instincts. And whether that's sometimes, our instincts can be good, but we can rely on them too much. We can actually, betray some of these parts of us and just focus on these others. And like you were saying, like we push them down, and then those roar back even more. And before we know it, we're riddled with just neurosis. That's my story, is that, like, just processing all this stimuli, man. And, man, but the thing is that exercising yourself in the weakness, you have to learn how to do it effectively and learn how to cultivate your own joy and your own strength towards life. And it becomes then the domain of you finding yourself and really finding, like, your authority and who you are, and, so that's kind of like a lot of my views on things. I like to hear kind of your perspective on, how you contrast or agree with some of the things that like, because I know, like, I wanted to get into that more in my podcast, is to kind of like share, I want to hear what you have to say as far as relating with what you've experienced, because I'm anxious to hear, because you're on your own mission, your own, your own thing. And so, I don't know, man, like, anything that I said, you have any sort of very strong agreements or disagreements or anything, or,
Yeah, that resonated with me, when you said that we need to have, kind of dig more and, not be afraid of these tough discussions,
mm-hmm.
because of course, people are going to be sensitive. I don't want to force them into it, but exactly what you're saying,
yeah.
Open-minded, open-hearted, and just, the mental health, thankfully, I think has become more, have, like, more of an awareness to the public since COVID.
Yeah.
Since I live right by New York City, like, it's very populated. There are a lot of places by me that were like all booked because COVID has such, like, an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people were having, depression, anxiety, and also, how are they dealing with anxiety and depression? And some, like, if we go back to OCD, some of them was the coping mechanisms, was the compulsions. They were obsessing over things, and that was, during quarantine, and that's just being, like, stuck at home with no treatment and having these obsessions and compulsions.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that. So therapy and mental health awareness started to become more prevalent where I am, but still it's open-minded, hearted,
mm-hmm.
Accepting, and just talk about the tough stuff. It's okay. Like,
mm-hmm.
So one of the things also that you brought up that I really, really liked was when you said you need to talk about it more, was about, and you also mentioned spirituality, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a spiritual person. I think that sometimes, I'm really not bashing religions or anything like that. Please don't think I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to have discussions in churches too about it. Just like, hey, this is those support groups. Maybe, like, or churches can call it connect groups or whatnot.
Yeah.
For depression, for whatnot, because we're humans.
Yeah.
We have certain things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And it's weird. It's there's a part in the good book that says that God loves who he chastises, and I feel like we can be self-righteous and like sometimes in condemning the church, but I think also when you look at the condition of the church and the condition of spirituality in America, I do think it's a form of love to criticize our our slacking in the area of mental health. We should be the bastions of mental fortitude, and yet there's a lot of people that are more fearful than a lot of people. I mean, it's that's the thing that I've learned about mass mindedness, like the Undiscovered Self by Carl Jung, transformed my life. I began to really immerse myself in that book several years back, and I found myself like compulsively just like reading it, and it was just to the point it's like a part of my DNA now. And it was weird. It was like a prophetic preparation for seeing what we've seen in our world. And I realized that mass mindedness can happen anywhere, and where we put more emphasis on the external than the internal. And I feel like if when it comes to the area of spirituality, that's almost spirituality to me in a nutshell, is that it's the importance of the internal elements of a person. And I think too often we're too comfortable with kind of just truisms, with kind of proverbs or wise statements, and yet we don't know how to truly individuate ourselves, how to become a real individual who is bursting at the seams with life. And honestly, man, like I've had the hardest couple of years of my life, and I think a lot of people have, but I've found all of a sudden, something has released just a tremendous sense of joy. There's times where I've found myself alone reading or thinking or just meditating, I'll almost be in tears because I'm so happy, that I'm so joyful of just experiencing myself come alive. And I've worked my way for a long time to really understand what it feels like to really love yourself. When we hear loving ourselves, that sounds so vain, and yet like it's like we have this habit of judging self-love in a negative light, because most of the time we see attempts of self-love that are incorrect. If I get a big bowl of ice cream or a big thing of Ben and Jerry's or whatever, and I'm just shoveling ice cream, like self-love. It's like that's actually a form of self-hatred. It's like if to avoid parts of yourself and to focus on one area of it's like, imagine if your house is on fire. Okay, and you just are like, what? I love my house so much. I'm going to avoid the fire, and I'm going to just go into the parts of my house that aren't on fire. Well, it's sooner or later the whole thing's going to be on fire, And so, trauma is like that. Pain is like that, man. We can only hold it into one area for a period of time before it really affects a lot of things. And man, for me, that was my whole teen years in a nutshell. Even my preteen years is that is having this inner turmoil that I desperately did not want to. It was the thing that should not be named. The Harry Potter reference. It was like the thing that I didn't want to admit existed. And it was the fundamental villain of my life that that honestly personified everything that I hated and everything that I didn't want to confront in existence itself. And so I don't know, man. To this day, it's we're all works in progress, but it's the fact that I've felt what it's like to begin to feel integrated, to feel connected, to feel sources of life flow into areas that I didn't fully know could exist, and become the person that I think I always was meant to be. And allow myself to expand and develop that person. That's, to me, that's like fun. That's like, You know, man, it's, you know, that's the ultimate joy of life, is to become everything you enjoy, everything that makes you happy. You are, you know, it's, you know, and so, but that's why I don't know, man. I'm such this talkative buffoon. It's because like I just have so much bursting through me that like this is how I've always wanted to see the world. I've always wanted to see the world in such a way that it gives me joy. I process people and everything in a way that just sees meaning in everything. And you know, there can be a sadness, a weight with that. But I think that if we can blend our quest for knowledge with our quest for joy and truth, sometimes what we learn, it can help us lift those burdens. So we're not just being arbitrarily sophisticated and burdensome, but we're learning how to let truth alleviate the chaos that's in us, so that we're not arbitrarily dragging around burdens that are just that we're never supposed to carry. And you know, and so, you know, that's part of the book that I'm working on right now. No one knows this yet, but you see, you're getting a scoop. But you know, there's a lot of just little isms that have been, for me, lifelines. And so I'm working on a book right now called Lifelines, where it's just these little statements that to me have been literally like the life-saving ropes that I've been able to, when I feel myself stepping into darkness and falling and free falling and feeling like things are out of control. Sometimes just that little bit of truthism, that little bit of truism, we're going to call it, that little bit of knowledge and perception that you've worked through, that immediately sets you back in alignment to who you really are, you know? And, you know, a lot of it are things that people never told me. They're things that I've had to learn that pierce. The thing about my OCD is that, like, that's how I am with seeking truth and seeking knowledge, is that I don't stop until I find something that makes me alive, you know? And I can't stop digging until I found gold, and that gets me in trouble sometimes. But I just talked for like 20 minutes straight. I'm glad to be here with you, man. And I'm sorry for just rambling on, but this is for me like my I don't know, I just love this is my domain, my normal environment. I have to I'm learning how to be a normal person because it's like I'll go out to a bar and I'm like, yeah, so tell me your top 3 life traumas, what's the and it's I gotta dumb things down with people and learn how to enjoy people for who they are. And man, and for me, I'm trying to be able to enjoy anything and be unboreable, and just have an outlook of joy with all this. I don't want to be just an intellectual, because the world has enough of this. I want ideas that really pierce our lives to release who we really are, and to bring freedom, man. And so, anyway, period.
That was great. You had so many points that I just was having this discussion the other day with someone, and it was about one of my favorite philosophers is Søren Kierkegaard. And I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but one of his statements, he's talking about God, and one of the things I love about him is he's always asking questions. That's why he likes Socrates. So he's asking these questions, and this is in terms of religion, and he's at the end of it, he says, well, I want to meet, my creator, my maker, whatever. So it's this, so then what was I saying to my friend? I said, I always want to know things, and I think with education, if it's just, there's always something else to learn. Always something else to learn. And there's always things, and that's why philosophy is so interesting. Always questions. This is a little fun fact that's, what I liked, literally, how you're talking about procrastination, and that is exactly what I've been, I have a coping mechanism in my own way, which is kind of making sure I'm always doing something, but it's not the thing that I have to do. So it's whether it's deciding to sign up for another philosophy course that I don't need to take, or just reading like 2 books, but meanwhile I have to like do these finances, but it's just like on my free time, like, or even when I'm waiting for some, like, I have to do something in order to stop like these, like, if I feel like these obsessive thoughts are coming back again in my head, it's just like I need to keep myself busy to the point where someone was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, do you have any time? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Which, I like learning. I love learning. So this is like an enjoyment for me. Like, I decided to pick up 2 languages. So then it's actually pretty fun.
Dude, that's awesome,
German,
man.
Yeah. So you know, they're
what two languages?
German and Russian, but I'm focusing on German right now because I am. All right. So I'm gonna preface this with saying, like, people that know me know I'm kind of like this goofy personality, like, you know, I kind of have a sarcastic sense of humor with people. When I was in high school, I wasn't the, I guess you could say, like, brightest or whatever. So, but then my GPA kept on going up and up until grad school, where I am now getting my master's in social work. So then I love philosophy, theology, and religion. And so I was talking to my friend who's a PhD candidate, and I said, you know what? I took some courses with Harvard, but they were like side courses, and I said, those were some of the courses I was taking to get my mind out of things. And I said, I'm going to apply to their School of Divinity program. And so at first he's kind of like, yeah, all right. But then he looked at like my resume, statement of purpose, all that. He's like, you have like a good chance of getting it. And I know when you're looking at me and all this stuff and my goofiness, I'm not this person you could see getting into a school like that. But and it fits in line with what I want to do, and everything's working out with that. I don't know how, but it's somehow working out. So the road to where I am now has not been easy. You know, I started with community college. I loved community college. And then I worked my way up to where I am now with, like, I'm not trying to brag. I just feel like I need to prove that I'm able to get it in there, you know? People are just like what? So, like, yeah, like 4.0, like, I just have a lot of background experience and stuff. I think I have a really good chance. And so where I'm getting with this is how we were talking about Søren Kierkegaard and our things that we tend to do for coping mechanisms, and we go and, like, read, and there's always something more to do. And that's how I kind of ended up in this situation where I said, let me apply. Let me apply. You know? And confidence, I've been trying to be a lot more confident myself. When I stopped comparing myself to others, I was, like, free.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then one other thing I'll say, well, 2, and then I'll let you go back to talking. I liked how you were saying that you had to find out these things for yourself, because it was me too, you know? And there's this quote from Søren Kierkegaard that I really like, so I'm kind of just going to summarize it. He goes, that brings me back to where, you know, like, I am. So it says, life can only be understood backwards, it can't be understood forwards. And I'm just like, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. And then there's this quote from, I think it's like The Night of the Museum or something like that, with Robin Williams. And at the end of it, he's talking to Ben Stiller, you know, like, the character or whatever. And the character, Ben Stiller's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then the character of Robin Williams is like, how exciting. And I just thought that was such an interesting way to, I know it's this quote from a movie, but I just thought, wow, you know, it really is a blessing. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah. It's funny how like, no, yeah, it's funny how like miscellaneous like quotes or sayings or scenes in movies can just like hit an area that just resonate, and you may not even fully know why. It just does, you know, and that's really kind of like, you know, which makes me realize, man, I feel like, you know, because we both really love knowledge and love understanding and stuff. Let me plug my phone up real quick. Hold on. Give me 1 second. No, yeah, so I had when you were talking, I like these ideas that, you know, when you think of knowledge and we think of how infinite the universe is, okay? It's like, see, this is gonna be a very, very like, this can be a very, very arrogant statement, okay? But I want you to understand like the principle of it, because I think our approach to knowledge is sometimes we are so in tune with the vastness of everything. Hey, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It was right at like an important part, and so so
it was like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just check this out, okay? So grasp this idea that, you know, we learn the alphabet, right? So we learn the capacity to read, okay? In some way, if we learn the alphabet, we learn every little nugget of I guess metadata, or what we want to call it, or like small amount of information by which we can construct larger pieces of information. Essentially, if you know the alphabet, you've read every book in the world. Okay? Now, in some way, in some dimension, okay? When we learn about life and stuff, to me, I like to see like knowledge is almost like is this planet that we're on. That many times knowledge isn't just we learn something from A to B. We learn it from A to A. We learn full circle that something connects us back to where we are. And so the resolution and joy that knowledge gives us isn't just us going perpetually into the infinite reality of reality. You know, it's actually going so far somewhere that we end up back where we are. And we have this kind of wholeness within us that like knowledge is sort of a navigation of who we already are. So essentially I'm talking about self-knowledge, is that all knowledge is self-knowledge. So when you learn something, you're just not learning something, you know, as like, you know, like, I don't know, attaching something to your soul. You're actually exercising your soul to kind of awaken something that's already there, you know? And I think the trick about, you were saying about the quote about we only can live life forwards and not backwards. That's where, to me, the appeal of spirituality comes in, because spirituality, and I think even, you know, like Christianity, for instance, what's very, very unfortunate about our traditional kind of Christianity, the thing that makes it like awesome is like it's really controversial, like element that sees God coming into like reality and the spiritual dimension coming into the physical and giving us this new dimension to work with. And when you were saying about understanding life from forwards or from backwards, and instead of, to me, like spirituality is something where God wants to come in and actually we can understand life outside time almost. And so essentially there's this weird, and that's why people don't understand that, and because you can't understand it unless you actually experience it. And the kind of controversial elements of spiritual experience is the thing that I like to really emphasize on, because, you know, every religion has its truisms, it's their own little overlaps and stuff. But like, I mean, what's a real experience that changes you, that really and for me, I really have a low tolerance now for just superficial religious garbage. I mean, living in the South, I mean, there is a very, very good element to tradition and stuff. But my life story is that tradition's not good enough. Is that whenever the flood came, and all that I had was my little tugboat of, or a little canoe of whatever I learned as a child. Even though it helped, it was a foundation. Ultimately, self-knowledge, understanding myself, and having an experience with grace that allowed me to not be afraid of my problems. Like, to me, that's when I felt free to understand myself. I felt better to, and there's this whole weird mystery about when we experience God and the spiritual. I'm not saying God is us or we're God and we're whatever. But we've been made in His image, and so when we see Him, we see ourselves. Because when we see the Creator, we understand the creation, and so. I tend to have very, very radical beliefs and radical kind of like, because I demand a lot from things. I demand a lot from, it's not good enough to just have a theory and a formula. And then when life happens to you, man, you're up a creek, and it's, you're not really, to me, in my own experience, when I began to cultivate genuine spiritual experience and understanding, there's such a stability inside you that there's a certainty. And to me, like, the utility of everything that we know is creating a certainty inside us. There's so much uncertainty in this world. I don't know what's going to happen from, the next 10 seconds from now, but there's something that gets resolved, and that's the source of our confidence. There's a certainty that we have to be careful, because it can lead to an arrogance, and we see a lot of that in our traditional religion, where we have enough security in kind of the skeleton of truth, like the structure of it, but we don't have the function of the truth. We don't have the function of that. What does it look like to be an embodiment of truth, to function fully the way I was designed to function, and to be to feel like I'm a conduit of God, and so to me, like, having that sort of demand on things is important. And I feel like too often the nicety of it all, we're like, okay, we want to be good religious Christian people or spiritual people, and realize that if you like. Have you read the Bible? Like, what that means? Like, I mean, Christ was like crucified, and like, I mean, Paul was beheaded. There's all this insanity, crazy stuff that, like, the life that is really a spiritual life is a demanding life. And it's not demanding just to like suffer and into nihilism. Like, Paul actually is writing like I can't wait to suffer. Like I mean, dude, these past couple of years, there's been I've had to bear so many burdens in my own mental well-being, and the thought of enjoying my burden, in a healthy way, is like almost insanity. And yet Paul says that if you have a correct relationship with suffering and pain, it's something that is life-giving. And that's like, we're so busy trying to make church as comfortable as possible. We're trying to have a comfort, whatever. And it's like we should be meeting we should be able to meet where it's the most uncomfortable location possible, and we may have to do that in the future sometime, but yeah, it's and I mean, throughout history, we've, the people have had to do that. But there's this way that when you really unlock some of the things that are inside you, and you feel psychological healing, you feel processes to you that, we can always go back to some of our natural dispositions in our body, and how, dude, it's a process that every day we have to choose the path that, that is releasing healing in us, and joy and peace. And it's a process, but there's a confidence that comes with exercising yourself in a new perspective of spirituality that's much more demanding, because, I mean, it demanded all of God, but God he wants to fill us with everything that he has. And so we miss that. We think it's just one dimensional where I got to deny myself and all this stuff, realizing it's like the reason why I need to deny myself is because like there's like, it's like driving like this car that's like broke down and is barely driving and not driving much at all, and then having a Ferrari drive by. I need to deny myself because I need to leave this garbage behind, to step into a new definition of who I am, and for me that's kind of like, that's what I love about Christianity. But the thing is, that's not what people know about Christianity. For me, Christianity is very, very few people actually really understand it. And that may sound very arrogant, like I'm placing more important knowledge on myself than other people, but I just know that I've experimented enough with it to understand what doesn't work and what does work. And there are some things with it that absolutely don't work, that are incorrectly understood, and it's very, very popular. It's easy to just, have a subculture of moralism and condemnation of things, and not a real, vibrant quest for one's own eternal joy and one's own expression of life, one's own fulfillment. And so. So yeah, man, I kind of feel like there's a link between mental health and spiritual health. And that's why I feel like that we have to use this crisis right now of mental health and everything to step into these deeper spiritual problems, because I think we've had it for a long time. We've really had, I mean, you can follow, even through the Reformation and stuff, man, a lot of good things happened with that, but there were still things that weren't right. And we've had to, we don't have the correct tradition and standard, in my opinion. And it requires our own experimentation and our own understanding that God gives us grace to be able to experiment, and so I don't know where I was going with that, but it's important. That's why I like it's a really interesting topic for me, because I feel like Christianity is one of those things that everyone thinks they understand it, and they understand it in measure. But to me, like the real power that's released in it, the real power in my own life that makes my own, that's brought healing in areas to me and brought such a confidence in me that to me, it's something that I've had to sort of take some risks and trust, okay, God, I'm going to go here in this direction, and I'm going to kind of do the Indiana Jones thing where you're kind of walking in the air, and you take a step, and because you feel like something in you is moving, and instead of looking outside you for guidance, something's moving inside you, and you're like, okay, I think I need to move in this other area, and allow something to flow within me, and then you're like, whoa, okay, I feel like our growth is taking one foot in front of the other, like we're kind of in a cave, and we just can see right in front of us with our torch, and we got to just keep on keeping on as we learn things and stuff, man. But another long soliloquy, man. Once I get rolling, it's hard to stop, man. So you're like perfect fodder for my canon,
No, I love it. I was actually just looking at something. I didn't know that people could do this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So I clicked on something. Oh, okay. So there is someone that wrote like a question,
mm-hmm.
and you can do that. So the question was, mistake the church made was to partner with the government. It caused the government to politicize it. Oh, how I agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going back to, world Catholic times. God, people using the Bible as power was just a way of ruling people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh boy, this was great. I feel bad if this person isn't in here anymore, but
I know. Well, you think about it. Christianity, the original, it was one of the really only fundamental revolutions we've ever had. I mean, it started with like, they started with one person, but it started with, 12, and honestly, it was like a grassroots thing. It was really just something that, when you really think about it, like, it never had in mind taking over the world, taking over governments. And I feel like that was a problem that we weren't prepared to deal with effectively. And I feel like, it's weird. You can actually read, in the book of Revelation, there's letters to the churches that John writes to, and and dude, they're hardcore. It's basically saying like, this isn't heading in the right direction. We're very nostalgic, thinking, oh, like old times, everything was good. I mean, we got Paul getting his head chopped off, we're getting Peter hung, whatever, crucified, and I think I've heard the story that John was boiled alive and miraculously survived and was banished to the Isle of Patmos or whatever, and I believe that's where he wrote the book of Revelation, and but it's like, it's one of those. It's very sobering because you realize that the history of Christianity, in lots of ways, this is just a theory I've been working with, but really went through the churches he wrote to. Those were the hubs of Christianity that he basically was saying, we have major issues. And I feel like when you look at history, you see from the church fathers and everything, things really slowly go out of control, and it really requires, it really requires a lot of bold thinkers and leaders to kind of maintain, the thing to kind of go on. But by then, so much, it got watered down to the point that, I mean, dude, people can blame Christianity for burning witches and stuff, the scripture about, whatever. And so it's one of those things where there's something fundamentally wrong with human nature. We go wrong in such an easy way, and it's really fascinating. It's very fascinating to see how civilizations just implode, and how, and it's very, I think it's a very, people want to always pick and choose that, like, Hitler was a Christian and Stalin was an atheist, and it's like, dude, they were all people. And I don't think Hitler was ever a Christian, by the way, but like, people will point to all these labels we put on ourselves, and when it comes down to it, we're all humans. We're all screwed in some ways, We're all got issues, and we mask ourselves with all of these little ways of making our corruption look neat, and we don't really know how to navigate, our own corruption, and so unfortunately, in the postmodern era, and this is the problem that I think that Christianity gave us at the turn of the 20th century. I think Nietzsche even talked about this, that like Christianity gave everyone such a thirst for truth that it didn't prepare itself for like the scientific revolution, where all of a sudden there was this conflict of and there's a lot that can be said about that. Like, I feel like we have such a simplistic view of history. We want to like put people in groups and stuff, and it's Christianity kind of helped birth the scientific revolution, but it's one of those, at the turn of the century, there was such a thirst for truth that a dysfunctional church that couldn't preserve the real power of what I guess Jung would call myth, the real mysticism that captures the human soul. Because it lost that, it made the doctrines and everything just so rigid. And even now, that's still pervasive in the church, that we're in traditional religion, is that everything's about doctrine. Everything's about, okay, it's all, and both me and you know what it's like to feel that way intimately, when it comes to our own compulsions or whatever. And yet we can see that within groups where we all want to control, and I think we have a certain special insight into that instinct that most people aren't willing to address. We have to address it because it's been so out of whack. But everyone has that instinct, and everyone has that ability to allow that to corrupt their lives and to corrupt their motives and everything. And it's unfortunate that, that I think the church didn't know how to. We got away from, I think, knowing how to navigate our darker areas, and we got more into into a superficial, moralistic belief system, and not realizing that, you have to be transformed in order to really have a a view of fulfilling moral principles with joy. Is the commandment about love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and soul and mind and strength and stuff. And it's kind of like, man, it's that's a tall order. That's the only way we can actually fulfill anything, is that we want to do good, and for the right reason, and so man, I don't know. I forgot where I was going with that, but
No, I love the discussion. I think just we gotta have stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of people like my age, they don't really like to kind of just sit down and talk about this, and so it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. What is funny about that, though, and this has been very difficult for me, because I know when it comes to I've been able to witness a lot of very, very simplistic thoughts on love within the church, as far as like pursuing relationships and stuff. And yet it's difficult, because sometimes I'll find someone who's not a Christian, but has a very organic desire for wholeness and for mental health. And you know what? It's like I can see there's like they're more spiritually open than like a believer.
Yes.
And it's difficult, because then like everyone will tell you that, like, okay, you should seek a relationship with a believer and stuff, and yet you're more compatible with someone who's not, but who's sincere in what they're doing, than someone who's insincere. And then I think we all have to hold our boundaries, and we all don't need to lose hope or whatever for our whatever. But it's a problem that we haven't been able to address effectively, and I feel like a lot of people, I feel like we have a lot of oversimplified, just ideas about that. And I feel like the good news, though, what I was meaning to say about that, is that the good news is that I think our society, things that have broken so bad in a lot of areas, a lot of people are hurting so much, that there is a thirst for genuine truth and understanding. And I think those people that are seeking wholeness and are seeking mental health, those are the people that are really good ground for genuinely experiencing spiritual things, and it's difficult, though, because I feel like one of our big duties is to be a reflection of something really new, and to step away kind of from the I think what people would feel like is this sort of repressive subculture, that just, sometimes you get around a religious person who's, and it just feels like you want to get away from them, because it's just like, I don't feel like I'm being uplifted. They're very,
like doing things
yeah. And there's just not like a deeper person there, and I say religious just kind of broad, but then you'll meet the real deal, and it's someone who you're just like, I want to be like this person. Like, this is a person who's really, I don't know, man. They're a more multi-dimensional person. They're more present. They're more, and it's awesome, and it's, I don't know, man. I feel like there's such a huge difference between the two types of people, and yet we all put it into one classification. And it's very difficult to, to kind of appeal, to try to solve the question of mental health and a lot of elements with that, with spiritual health, when you bring them to like, I don't know, it's like bringing someone to the hospital where there's sick people everywhere. It's like it's like, how can we reform the way that we do things? And that's why, man, I'm a radical individualist. I feel like we all have to be on our own mission wherever we are to sort of recreate the intimacy, and we have to sort of look at things new and kind of rebuild the way that we define spirituality in the church and things, and that's what I'm trying to do, man. Like, and again, man, and I know I'm not, like, I don't have all my stuff together. I'm not perfect, but for me, I see things in such detail that I'd much rather kind of be quasi dysfunctional, but be kind of like a genuine reflection of what I'm trying to aspire to, and rather than try to just try to be this locked up, religious person who's just keeping the status quo, because I just know for myself that's not good enough to heal people's pain in what's happening in the world right now. And we need bold thinkers, people that are and bold livers, not livers, people that live, people that actually, and that doesn't mean that you like are preaching all the time. It just means that you're finding out what makes you alive. Then people actually want to have a conversation with you about things because you're actually, something's different, and, man. So it's, I don't know, man. That's kind of, I think we have a lot of work to do, but man, we're just got to put one foot in front of the other with what we do, put thought into it, and really just be present with some of the, I put a lot of value on weird thoughts and stuff, man. People just need people that are present, honestly. People just, you can only give someone so many nuggets of truth and their head explodes. And it's like, it comes down to the human heart of just being able to have conversations and just say, hey man, like there's just simple things people need to hear. It doesn't have to be profound. It can just be, hey, you know what? I was just thinking about, there's so many people out there that might just need some encouragement. And I just want to say that, if that's you, I'm thinking about you and let you know that, man, you problems may seem unsurmountable, but life always has more to offer than what you can think or feel in your pain. And you got to see through it and just trust that, man, if you can not be defined by your opposition and just hold on to hope, that, man, you can, yeah, man. So, we can really find life wherever we are, even if we feel in absolute darkness. And that's where the light is best seen, in absolute darkness,
Darkness, yeah. No. The light is seen, without I mean, to see light, it will have to be dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. What is exactly that quote? Goodness, why am I blanking on it? Without dark, there would be no lightness.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. I know. Yeah. I probably just have overwhelmed you with words.
No. You're good. Seriously, I love having these discussions with you. I was really, really happy. I honestly just love listening.
Well,
no, I mean, I really do enjoy it.
I get, dude. I'm so enthusiastic about this stuff that I don't know where to stop. It's like that is a challenge I'm learning. Is that when you're so in tune with like your own reality, and you're in this flow, you got to realize that the rest of the world isn't in sync with that, and it's a blessing to have someone who enjoys that, when you're talking to, but, man, it is something that I have to, like, got to realize that, man, be discerning. And I guess, man, I feel that for me. I feel like a presence helps pull out what I have to say. And so, man, I feel like I'm allowed to, like, just, ran on, but I do have like that part of me that is like, I realize I'm not the only person alive that has good things to say, so.
Yeah. No, you definitely I definitely appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I seriously appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
I am sorry. I do have to go because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this. I'm a social worker now.
Oh, really? Fantastic, man.
I think the last time we talked, I wasn't.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
So, I have to do some fun financial reports.
Oh, yeah.
And get that in. Yeah, there's like a time zone difference, right? I think I'm
yeah. Yeah, no, man. I feel you, dude. This has been a good chat, and so, man, let's do this again, man. I think we have a good flow, man, and I feel like, man, there's things that I say that as we're talking, I'm like, I got to go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
There are things that you say too, and everything, man, and so. Let's do this again soon. I'll be posting our podcast episode either probably next week. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get it in line. But my OCD Life podcast is the podcast that I do. Just started this past year, but I want to really explore a lot of these more bold ideas. And I've been having a lot of guests on, but I really want to do storytelling, but also just want to do a lot of this where I just turn on. I don't know. It's good for me to have people on where I can feed off their energy, man. But, I really want to communicate a lot of these bold ideas and get us thinking differently about everything. To me, reality is so fascinating and interesting that I feel like we have to learn that, man, there's so many cool ways of thinking that release life that are available to us. And it's just cool to have people that bring that out of us, and so you're a fantastic guest, and man, dude. So my OCD Life podcast, and that'll be the next episode. It'll be posted next. You can find it on YouTube on the Joshua Stephen Ward channel, but I think my OCD Life is on Spotify and all the other formats and stuff. So, but yeah, man, thank you for having me, dude. And I call everyone dude. So.
All right, yeah, and I'll talk to you later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tag you in this, and then we'll schedule another one to just talk about whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It'd be good to even try out like themes just to see if I can stay on topic about something. So.
You pick the next one.
Okay, cool, man. Sounds good. Well, let's stay in touch, man, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, Raquel.
All right. Bye.
Bye.